So, since when do you have meetings for work late at night in a creepy motel? The door is broken ajar and nothing looks right. All right, welcome back to the final reaction. Nick here, and I appreciate you checking out my episode 3 review for Superman and Lois. This fantastic show that hopefully you are loving just as much as I do. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe, especially subscribe to this channel if you are enjoying these reviews and anything else you see on this channel. We would really appreciate it. So it's been a few days since the episode came out, and I get my review out. Sorry about that, but you know, life happens. So this episode, I mean, it gets better and better, in my opinion, this show. It's not one of those shows that had a great pilot and an okay episode 2 and then just worse and worse and worse. For me, each episode is standing on its own. It's very relatable what's going on, and it's about Superman, for crying out loud. How do you have a relatable show about Superman? It's doing such a great job, and I am not versed in the Arrowverse. So for me, I'm loving it. Let me know, are the other shows as good as this one? Because man, I got some catching up to do. But talking about this episode, the thing I love about it. Well, first, let me start off with my one complaint, and it's a pretty big complaint, all right? I've talked about the visual effects a little bit because everyone was going crazy about the visual effects. And yes, for a CW show, the first 2 episodes, the visual effects have been very, very nice. The music, the acting, the set pieces, everything has just been a little above and beyond the norm. But man, just go ahead and type in the comment section if you know what I'm going to crap on in a second. Because as far as visual effects, I mean, don't even have the scene in the show, for crying out loud. Just show the bridge, right? Show him catch it, because that was really good. Visual effects and him, you know, hey, oh, sorry, and lifting it up. But man, when he was going and he was flying underneath that bridge and he was in front of it flying, oh wow, that was really bad. That was unfinished CGI. That was like maybe like phase 3 or phase 4 of unfinished CGI. That was bad. That was really bad. And for me, it took me out of the episode right away. Luckily, the show is so good. Tyler Hoechlin is so good that it brought me back in. That he brought me back in, and sort of the other characters and the other actors. But that was bad. So in this episode, The Perks of Not Being a Wallflower, I love that title, we have Jordan, who, by the way, he whines about everything. He throws tantrums about everything, and I absolutely love it. I know most people are probably going crazy over this guy, but I love it because I know people just like that. I'm sorry, but his character, besides having superpowers, or many superpowers, his character is very, very real. It's grounded in reality. There are some people that want everything their way, and they're going to throw a fit, especially when they're a teenager, especially when they're going for some serious super hormones, right? Especially when they got a little case of the Brightburn going on. And especially, they mentioned that he's got some anxieties, he's got some other things that he's got to take medication for. All right, you add all those up. To me, it's very, very easy to understand. And he feels like he's been the black sheep. He feels like he's been crapped on. And so we have him getting pushed around. The guy says, stay in your lane, or some nonsense like that. But he says, you know what, fine. Gets a little smile on his face. I'm going to join the football team, and I'm going to take my frustration out on everybody here. And he goes out on full Bobby Boucher mode, the water boy, and he's just, instead of going, I mean, he, like Bobby Boucher would do, he just goes after and flats people out. He knocks them out, pancake after pancake. It's a beautiful sight to see, and it was really cool to see, even the visual effects in that. They must have had some kind of wires where they're pulling them back real quick in those shots, because he is going after these guys, and they're flying at least 5 or 10 feet. Crunch, crunch. It was awesome. It was awesome, but I'm sitting here thinking, like, and I think this was the episode, yeah, where Superman is listening in, right? And he had to, good thing he was there to intervene, because that guy was clenching the fist, his eyes were turning red. But he got in trouble for intervening, and it was kind of funny because Lois, she's like, remember when you tried that early on? He's like, yeah, I'm glad you didn't break up with me. She's like, well, you're lucky I was in love with you, right? saying, you better rail this in because, yeah, the kids love you, but not the way I love you, so they're going to disown you in a second. And so I just like that because, again, it shows Clark as a regular worried father where I got powers, might as well use them. Let's see what's going on. He's doing his little Grinch thing, right, from the cartoon. But anyways, Jordan tries out for the football team, and I was getting anxious. I was getting some anxiety because I'm like, oh, this is not going to end well. Flashbacks to Smallville, the series where Clark wants to try out for the football team, and he has to do it behind his dad's back, and his dad gets really angry and upset, and eventually has to back out, even though he was really good. Excuse me. And so he tries out. He does really well, and this is where I say he's a believable character. Okay, if you had superhero powers or mini powers, you would want to do that to feel like a winner for once. And I think he even surprised himself with how much he actually enjoyed the sport. Yes, he was dominant, but how much he enjoyed the sport. But here's what I really love. This is the thing I love about this show, and in my opinion, they understand families. They understand people, real people in their characterization. Because you have Jonathan Kent, who is just like, he's a really cool guy. I mean, he's a super understanding guy. But even he's getting frustrated, and he's like, he even tells him at one point, football's my thing, man. And he's basically getting territorial there for a few seconds, but I love it because eventually when Clark finds out and Lois finds out and Clark says you can't do it, it's too dangerous, and the whole Smallville thing all over again, and he's going through that, there's a moment where Jonathan, because Jordan's angry and his dad's not going to let him play, and he's just does one of his typical tantrums, runs off, and Jonathan feels bad. I thought this is going to be the schism, right? Where they're going to separate and then we're going to have a few episodes of them at odds. And we will definitely probably get that in this series, in this season. But I loved it because he goes in the room, he sees the guy's got a phone call. And by the way, he made up, everything was cool with the football player who was dating Sarah that she broke up with. Can't remember the character's name. And so anyways, he gets a text message from someone on the football team. Maybe it was him. I can't remember. And Jonathan looks at it, and he walks away, and I'm thinking, like, oh, he's going to get jealous. Here we go. And to my surprise, that's not what happened. He took that as, hey, he's getting some friends. Like, he's actually feeling accepted. Most TV shows where you see that golden boy, older brother, older sister, they just, rub it in and dig in a little harder to the younger sibling and make it even worse for them, which is relatable at some point as well. But he's such a good guy. And the reason why I say it's believable is because a lot of times you have that yin and yang. You have those different kids or siblings that balance each other out. And so, yes, he's the golden boy, but he's also extremely understanding. And so he realizes that as mad as he is, that he doesn't have powers, as jealous as he is, that this guy's he comes on a football field for a second, he's got all these skills. He's actually happy for his brother. He loves his brother. And I just love that character so much. He might be a little too much understanding, way too understanding right now, but he's got his brother's back. And that was my favorite part of this entire episode, was that whole sequence back and forth, which is probably why they titled Perks of Not Being a Wallflower. I just loved it. I loved how Jordan is just way up here with his emotions, and Jonathan's way down here, and they balance each other out. They have each other's backs. Yeah, they rib on one another, and they make fun of each other, and they call each other out. But I just love their dynamic. They did such a great job casting these two guys, Jordan Elsass and Alex Garfin. They're so fantastic. They're so great. And I love the little story we got with Sarah Cushing and her mom, Lana Cushing. I love that little story we got there because you get a little more into those characters, a little more what's going on. I mean, Sarah was letting her mom have it. Her mom held true, and she stayed pat, and she didn't want anyone to know about their business, but she understands, let's figure this out. I thought that was a really nice moment there. And then you have, Superman, right? Clark Kent, there's a scene at the end of this episode where he is pretending to struggle carrying the water cooler. I love that. I think that's great. Keep the act going. And, Sarah's talking to Jordan, and, Clark puts the water cooler down, and he's like, hey, you got a jacket and a hat. Like, he's a huge-time dork. And it makes me wonder, because here's the debate. In Christopher Reeve's Superman, he was Superman who was pretending to be Clark Kent. All right? In Lois and Clark, it was Clark who was playing Superman. And he might have been a little more nerdy as Clark, but not really that much. He just had the glasses on and He was a little uptight about certain things. In this one, I thought he was doing the Lois and Clark thing. Superman and Lois, Lois and Clark. But he may just be that dork who can kick some serious butt. He may be that guy who is Clark pretending to be Superman, like Dean Cain was. But he may be like a combination of Christopher Reeve and Dean Cain. Henry Cavill was definitely more of the Christopher Reeve style. Brandon Routh, he was definitely the Christopher Reeve style where he's Superman and then really laying on thick, eating that burrito. I mean, that was hilarious. But I'm trying to figure out Tyler Hoechlin's approach here. I think he's really that dork, pretending to be cool and tough, but he might be cool and tough and just really, because he lays on the dorkiness a lot, but that might just be who he is, because when he's at home with his kids and he's talking to Lois and he's trying to figure out how to be a father, he's always going to her advice because he's not exactly sure. He's kind of a dork when it comes to being a dad and like, what do I need to do? I don't have all the answers. He's not cool, calm, collected with all of the experience. So maybe he's somewhere in the middle ground. I want to know, what is your opinion about how he's approaching Clark here? Because I first started, I think the first episode review, talking about how I preferred Dean Cain's approach. I love everything about Christopher Reeve. And I'm like, he's like right here. He's not. Everything about Christopher Reeve. He's right there. I love everything about those first two movies. And even the subsequent episodes. I enjoy those. But I said, like, I appreciated more the Clark can't pretend to be Superman. But after thinking a lot about it, and especially this episode, maybe I do prefer Christopher Reeve's approach, where he is Superman. You have to be Superman, and then you're pretending to be Clark Kent. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Please, let's get this conversation going. Let me know how you feel about that whole topic. But I thought that was nice. I love how he is still trying to figure things out with his son, and you get that a lot in this episode with Lana, with Clark, and even with Lois a little bit, even though she's got her own side story going on, where they're trying to figure themselves out as parents and trying to figure out, like, how can I get through to my kid? Yes, I can yell, I can bark, I can ground, but it's not really doing anything. How do I connect with them without trying just to be their best friend? I really liked that dynamic in this episode. But, I mean, the biggest thing is the fact that Lois is going after Morgan Edge, and she's got private eyes following her. She works for the Smallville Gazette. She's going after him. She printed that first story, which I kind of wish with it being a small-time paper and her getting a job there, I kind of wish, maybe it was just me, that they would have said something about the kind of response that her first article got. Maybe they haven't dropped it yet, but that would have been nice to hear, like, hey, this is like the best-selling week we've had at the Smallville Gazette because we have Lois Lane writing for us and she's calling out Morgan Edge, or we have all these people that hate us right now or are mad at us. I was kind of surprised they didn't go there, but what we did get is we got someone to come forward. My son is missing. I think it's Morgan Edge's fault. Can you look into it? Lois is like, oh, yes, gimme, gimme, gimme. Her editor, I really like her a lot because she's not just a fangirl. She is that editor, so she's like, we can't do that, we can't do that. And then she sees what it's like to live around Lois Lane and how trouble just follows her. And so I like that whole dynamic. But, man, when she tells Clark, after he's dealing with the stuff with Jordan and whatnot, she's like, hey, I'm going to go borrow your truck because her car caught on fire, for crying out loud. I mean, this guy's spying on her. Morgan Edge is not happy. And that was a funny line when the editor was saying, is there any chance this is not your car on fire right now? I chuckled about that. But she takes the truck because she has a convo she's got to have with the source, with her editor. They're going to have I can't think of the word right now, but some kind of a late night meeting. And they're going to meet somewhere. You'd think like a coffee shop. You'd think like a late night diner. You would think anywhere, the parking lot of a movie theater, for crying out loud. But no. For them, let's go to the super creepy motel. And it might be in Smallville, but it looked like it was on the outskirts or some super creepy motel. Late at night. I mean, it's like Bates Motel, for crying out loud. And I just don't understand that. Like, what was she thinking? What was she thinking? I mean, Lois Lane. Thank goodness. I love the fact that this show, I'm not sure if it's a comic book thing, thank goodness this show's got the beeper because, man alive, thank goodness. I was getting stressed about that. But she goes into the room. Dude pops up. Dude's going after her. She gets the pen, sticks it in his ear, and he's just like, no problemo. He doesn't say that. That was just my own dialogue. And I'm like, holy cow, what is going on here? And I'm like, where's Superman? And she's like, well, at least I got this. Well, that's not going to help you. ding, and then such a cool scene in this show. Such a cool scene. As soon as she hits it, who's there? Bam! Hubby right through the window, or right through the wall. Superman attire and all. Comes in, and he takes care of business right there. And I'm like, that was cool. Instantly. I love that. I love that so much that we didn't have to have more anxiety built up until he finally gets there. And so he's going to town. You think he's taking care of business. She's all relieved. But then dude gets back up. The dude... Actually, before he gets back, he gets up real quick and he goes like this, and they're doing like the WWE grudge match, kind of like the lock-up, right? And I'm like, dude's pumped up. And they're fighting. And he's just taking Superman to town because, of course, Superman, they've got to show him weak at some point in the show and in the movies because he's too powerful, blah, blah, blah. And they have a really cool fight. But the cool thing is Superman, he gets back up. He starts levitating. The dude's like, oh, I wish I can do that. I'll show you my muscles. And that was so cool what he did. He got the not the fire, but he got the Sub-Zero style, right? He blew the ice on him. And then he did the uppercut. That's one of the best moves ever. Sub-Zero, freeze, and then uppercut. Freeze, and then uppercut. I mean, that's exactly what he did right here. It was so cool. Going to town, going to work, taking this guy out, kicking him out the wall. And I didn't even see the guy go away, but he must have gone because Superman comes back and tells Lois he's taken care of. This show is just so cool. It's so cool. It pushes things, but doesn't take it to, in my opinion, ridiculous areas. This show, it has the family drama. It has the high school stuff. It has the action. It has the intrigue, the mystery. You know, Morgan Edge, where's he getting these super beans from? You know, the one girl, she takes care of this guy who couldn't take care of business, and she's got the laser eyes. Where'd she come from? I mean, is she alternate Supergirl from a different reality or something? What in the world? Is Morgan Edge building like his own level grade of Winter Soldiers, for crying out loud? DC equivalent. What is going on? I have no idea, but I love watching this show. And the thing I really liked, even though I liked the character of Captain Luthor a lot, they went with a different villain in this episode. They're showing world building. They're showing that Superman's, he's in a whole world of hurt. And you know what? He's going to need mini Superman. He's going to need Jordan with all his emotions to get his back at some point and to go to town. And I'm so mad at myself I have not mentioned it on the other two reviews. But don't think for a second I don't believe that Jonathan Kent, he's got some powers. Some latent powers that are going to show themselves right at the most epic moment. Maybe not as cool as Mjolnir going to Captain America in Endgame, because that was... Still, come on. One of the greatest scenes of all time in cinema? Of all time? Please. One of. Maybe not that epic, but a certain situation where he's going to have to like stop someone's hand and they're going to be like, doo, 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 and he's going to be sitting there. Jonathan Kent's got some powers. I mean, it's going to be bananas. It's going to be bananas. I can't wait for that. But I know this guy, he's got some powers that are coming eventually. There's no way. Maybe not till season 2. I think it's going to be when all these guys get together and say, let's go to court. Let's take out Superman. I can't wait. This show is amazing. It's like mini movies on the screen. If you're not watching this show, you need to, because it is fantastic. I love it so much. My only problem was a bridge scene in this episode. I just sat back with a smile on my face. I enjoyed every minute of it. And those are my thoughts about this episode. Absolutely loved it. Trying to think if there was anything else I missed. I don't think there is. I love that Jordan gets to play football and he's happy. He's got an outlet. He's got people that want to go over plays with him. He's got friends. Hopefully the tantrums will come down a little bit. And, you know, at the end of the day, he throws those tantrums and he throws some serious hurt bombs verbally towards his dad. But at the end of the day, he's like, oh, you're going to let me go? Like, he knows who's in charge. It's Superman, for crying out loud. Absolutely love it. 100%. Let me know what you guys think about this episode. Let me know if you want me to continue to review these episodes, because I love it so much. I'll probably do it anyways. But let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, adios.